Well, this is already not going as expected. Just trying to get up into a little area of BLM land. I even plotted a couple of different possible routes to get up in there. Nothing has worked out so far. I just keep running into patches of private land. I'm gonna keep working my way around. But here's how the day got started. Well, it has been beautiful, sunny, and warm in Western Oregon for the last 2 weeks. Finally heading out on a trip, and it has started to rain. Now today I am headed east, up over the mountains, out into the desert, and hopefully those mountains will have stopped the rain clouds. Thank you. Have a good one. Well, I'm now down off the pass on the quote-unquote dry side of the state, but still pretty close to the mountains. I'm going to head further out, away from the forest, into the desert. Crossing my fingers. Okay, well, I have emerged from the forest and I am now heading out into the desert. At least it has stopped snowing, raining, whatever. Still really cloudy, so we're not going to get those nice blue skies, vivid colors that we sometimes get out here. But at least we can have a night of camping without it raining on me. I'd be fine with that. So I'm headed up into some BLM land. I do have to sort of pass through a chunk of private land. I mean, it's public roads, I believe, passing through farms. But sometimes it's hard to tell, you know, exactly which road is going to go through or not go through. So I've planned a route that I think will get me there, but we'll find out. I could end up in someone's property and just needing to find another way around. Looks like, oh man, looks like a lot of clouds and maybe rain up in the hills there where I'm headed. Well, that's what I was afraid of. This road looks like it goes right up into the BLM there, but their signs say no trespassing, no BLM access. There's sort of a grid of roads out here. The other way looked even less promising, but we'll see if we can make that work. I really scouted this pretty carefully too. I mean, I scrutinized the satellite imagery, I looked for gates, I looked for anything that looked like it was more likely to be a road that was really right through a private ranch. This one looked like it was just sort of going between multiple properties. My next attempt on another road the map shows connecting to BLM land is also posted with no trespassing signs. And to a certain extent, I understand you don't want a bunch of random people driving through your property. On the flip side, we've got public land out there, and these are the roads that get out there. If you buy a parcel of land that butts up against public land, I mean, there has to be some expectation that users of the public land, you know, will want to go up and use it. Well, this one looked promising with a speed limit sign, but there's also an address and a private property no trespassing sign. Now, I feel like some route must exist into there. I did a little research on the area that I'm trying to get up into. I found people talking about it. I found pictures of it. It's got to be accessible some way. You know, I was trying to get there the most direct way possible, and I may have to sort of work my way around. This has been on my radar for literally years. I would really like to get up and check this little area out. I ultimately had to get back on the highway to wrap around the BLM land I'm hoping to explore in hopes of finding my way in. Finally, I found direct access onto BLM land. I just need to let myself through the gate. Okay, well this is definitely BLM land, and it sort of wraps around the bottom of where I'm trying to get to. It looks like the road does cross back over into some private land, and so is there a right-of-way there? I don't know. I'm honestly not holding my breath at this point with everything I've seen so far. I was not expecting this to be part of the saga today, but definitely some interesting rock formations out along here. Catches us up to the beginning of the video. I'm now really questioning how this is even going to work. The area that I'm trying to get into has one little access road, and I have come at it from multiple angles. Now the only way that I could possibly get to it is to a huge circuitous route. I mean, not huge, but maybe 20 miles it's just right over there. And I don't even know if that's gonna work. It looks like if I can get a little further up the road here, I could get onto purely BLM land and theoretically wrap my way around. I don't even know if it's worth it. I don't even know if it's gonna be that interesting, but I guess this is what today's adventure is gonna be. Can I even get there? This was kind of cool, these rock cliffs along here, these sort of formations and some little spires. That's fun to see. Well, I'm back on some paved road for a little bit, but looking closer at the map here, it looks like this may indeed dead end on some private land again. Okay, now it's turned into a dirt road. This is BLM land here, but I can see this road leads onto a big patch of what appears to not be BLM land. I may have to give up on today's plan. Yeah, that's the boundary of the BLM up on the private land there. Dang it. I don't really want to spend the entire day chasing access I may never find, nor do I think you really want to watch any more of that. Looking at my mapping, I see that I'm not terribly far from a number of random waypoints I've saved, just things I spotted in satellite images that were not worth a dedicated trip, but which I thought I may one day check out if I was in the area. Working my way towards my nearest waypoint, some landmarks seem familiar, and I realize I'm overlapping one of my earliest adventures in the Forester, out here with my son Colin. This was back before I had the iPad or used the Gaia GPS app. I was very inexperienced with backcountry travel and relied solely on paper maps and my outdated rudimentary Garmin navigator. In fact, Colin and I paused right about here and put the map out on the hood of the Forester, trying to figure out what we needed to do at this junction. Now I'm on the approach to a point of interest I noticed while scouting satellite imagery. Maybe we can turn this episode around and finally have a little success today.
kind of a geologically interesting area, and there's a feature here I kind of wanted to take a closer look at, but first I'm going to have a little lunch, and then we'll see what we can see. Much of Oregon's topography has been shaped by volcanic activity, though it is often obscured by millennia of erosion and a carpet of trees and other plant life. This beautiful little cinder cone, however, is clearly much younger than the surrounding lava now hidden by trees and brush, and it's easy to visualize the glowing red cinders spattering out of the earth and piling up into this perfect cone. Well, that was such a perfect little cinder cone, such a perfect little crater. I spotted that in satellite imagery when I was sort of scouting around and thought it would just be cool to look at. If it was later in the day, I would probably just camp there and then even hike up to the top of that. But it's still pretty early, and so I'm gonna go do some other exploring. The clouds have sort of parted, there's blue sky and some sun. While I'm frustrated with how the day went earlier, it's still great to be out here. It's always kind of interesting when the day is a little bit of a mystery. I've got some spots I marked just to go look at and kind of see what they are. I have no idea where I'm going to camp tonight. I'm just going to hope that I stumble on something that is going to work. I stopped here, take a little nap, but I'm actually sort of at the base of this ridge line, and I noticed on my Gaia GPS that right up above me here actually is the site of the A6 Intruder crash. Now, if you watched my Ben to Alvord series with Jason some years ago, that was still in the Forester. We visited that site where a jet crashed right on this ridge back in 1973, I think it was. When I was looking for spots to visit in the desert, I just noticed this road that was going along the base of this ridge, and I thought it just, kind of looked more interesting than being out in the flat desert, and didn't realize how close I was coming to that old part of our route. Well, we're really enjoying some blue sky and fluffy white clouds earlier, but a little bit heavier cloud cover has moved in this afternoon. And that wind is picked up. It's a cold wind. Hopefully I can find someplace a little bit protected for tonight. I have a couple of spots I wanted to go try and find.
This unmaintained primitive route is becoming increasingly rough and rocky as I start ascending towards a higher plateau. It didn't look like a huge distance to my next waypoint, but looks like it's definitely going to be a bit of a slog. We'll stop here for now, but the adventure is far from over. Stay tuned for part 2 and part 3 of this series over the coming weeks. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and thank you for watching.
I think I can see one of the things I came out here to look at. What is that?